Hey Jefferson Bears, welcome to Fine Arts Friday with Miss Snitker. Every Friday I'm going to be releasing another video that will just kind of walk you through a project that you can work on at home, and they're all going to be focusing on an element of art. So an element is something that makes up your artwork. It could be line, color, shape, form, texture, and this week we're going to be focusing on lines. So when you are making your artwork, thinking about all the different kinds of lines that you already know and how you can incorporate them into your artwork using a variety of them. Think of horizontal. A horizontal line is straight across, or vertical goes straight up and down, and diagonal, right, is like a slant. We have spirals, we have wavies and curved lines, zigzag. Think of all the different kinds of lines that you know, and think about how you can make it incorporate it into your artwork to make it look more interesting. So here is a look at the artwork example that you guys will be working from, but please feel free to make it more unique and more creative and your own so that it stands out from everybody else's. So as you can see here, we're going to be doing like a seascape using all these different kinds of lines to make the drawing a little bit more interesting. So we'll have to talk about all the different kinds of lines that we can be using. If you're a younger, you might want to do something a little less complicated. Here we have a circle divided into different sections. You could have one of your grown-ups help you do that. And then you're going to think about all the different kinds of lines that you know how to draw. We have wavies and zigzags, curves and straight lines. And these straight lines can look like they're different depending on which direction they go. And we also have spirals. Alright, so to get started, you will need a piece of paper. You will also need something to draw with. I always start with the pencil. I also used 2 different sizes of Sharpies in this project, and also some scratch paper so that I didn't get any Sharpie on the table as I was drawing. And before you begin, you should start thinking about all the different kinds of lines that you know how to draw that you can incorporate into this piece of artwork. So down here at the bottom, we have kind of these spiral lines, and at the top we have a lot more straight lines. So as we start working on this, we're going to be thinking about how we can use these kind of organic curved lines at the bottom with the spirals, and the curved line with the sun. And as we think about the rays, they're going to be more straight lines. So depending on where you're drawing, they might be vertical or diagonal or horizontal. You also might be putting different kinds of lines inside your rays to kind of make it look more interesting at the top as well, maybe a combination of different kinds of lines. Alright, so let's get started. Here's my clean sheet of paper, and I'm starting with the pencil. I like a pencil because I can erase it if I make a mistake or do something I don't like. And then I'll go over it with Sharpie later to make everything really stand out and show up on the paper. The first thing that I'm going to be doing is adding the horizon line in. And a horizon line is where the earth meets the sky, and in this case it's actually water. And because my water is more flowy, it's going to be a curved line or a wavy line. You could also be starting your spiral off right here too. I think I'm going to make mine a little bit different than the last time. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is work on getting the details in the top. So I'm going to be adding a big curved line for the sun. Now, I'm not seeing all of the sun, so it's more like a semicircle. And when I draw a circle, and it can be kind of hard, I really make sure I use my wrist to rotate around. And if it's easier too, you can always just turn your paper to make that movement a little bit smooth as you draw it. It'll just kind of go a little bit easier if you can think about rotating your paper to get that curve in there just the way you want it. Draw slow rather than fast. Alright, so I'm going to work on the top portion here, and I'm doing a lot of straight lines. So a straight line does not have any bends or curves in it, but they can have different names depending on the direction that they go. So my first line was vertical, and now they're becoming more diagonal as I make my way down towards the page. Once I get towards that horizon line, they become much more horizontal. And think of that word horizon and horizontal, they start the same way, so maybe that'll help you think of what each of those mean. Moving to the bottom half of the paper, now I'm going to work on the waves of the ocean, and I'm going to change mine a little bit from the first design. I'm going to do more of a wave pattern instead of the spiral that I did. It's going to be similar with those curves, but a little bit different. So as you can see, as I'm drawing, it still has a big curve in it, and as I come around, instead of keep going all the way into a spiral, I stop and kind of put a point on it and then curve back around. And as you add even more layers of waves, make sure that you pay attention to where you put them. You don't want them to all line up in the same place. You want to have a little bit of balance with where your waves land in the drawing. So make sure that they aren't all just in a big straight line. Kind of add a little bit of variety in size and space them out on the paper a little bit as you go. And make sure that your waves are all going in the same direction. The ocean is kind of flowing in the same way, so make sure those waves really travel across the page. They start off with a horizontal line and they curve to a point and then wrap back around. Now I'm just adding more curved lines to add definition to the wave. So just gonna work on adding a bunch of these lines in here to show the movement of the water and to really emphasize the texture of the flow. Alright, so now I have my drawing basically ready for outlining, but I just wanted to mention to make yours different or more unique, maybe you could think about what you could do in the sky to make yours different. Maybe you could add clouds or hot air balloons, and then you could do different patterns and line designs within the hot air balloons as well. But you would want to do that now before you begin your outlining, because once you do that, it's going to be too late. So I'm just going to take my thick Sharpie and start tracing around all of my pencil lines. And as you can see, I'm not doing the best job, so this is a great opportunity for me to add thickness to some of my lines. Again, having a little bit of variety will just make my artwork look a little bit more interesting. So thick and thin, and then we have these wavy lines and straight lines. That's good variety for my artwork. So I'm going to take some time now to just go ahead and work on my outlining, and it's going to be going slow and taking my time because this is not a race. If I'm going fast, it's probably going to be sloppy. Well, here's a good time for me to get my scratch paper out so that I don't get Sharpie on the table. And if you are using Sharpie, be careful because it can bleed through some of the thinner pieces of paper, so make sure you check that out. Alright, so I did most of my tracing now, and I'm just going back over some of my lines to make them a little bit more thick. There were some spots where I just didn't connect very well with my lines, or I went over, so that will give me a chance to kind of fix some of those mistakes. So again, variety is always more interesting, so take a minute or two now to make some of your lines a little bit thicker and just kind of fix any whoopsies that you had. Now that my waves are done, it's time for me to bring some focus back up to the top part of my page and think about how I can make these rays look a little bit more interesting, help bring some more attention and detail to the top of the paper. Because I have all these curves at the bottom, I might do some more straight lines at the top just to kind of bring in a little bit more variety. I might also be thinking about what size Sharpie I'm using here. I might go with my thinner Sharpie just to do something different, and also I'm working in thinner areas, so thinner Sharpie might be better in this scenario. And if I look back at my old drawing, my first one, you can see that I left some blank rays, every other one blank, just to kind of give your eye a place to rest so it's not overwhelming and super busy. So I think that I'm going to divide the top and bottom of the ray with just curved lines, just kind of do something that kind of ties in the bottom, but then I'll also be doing some straight lines too, or maybe some more sharper lines as I go here. Missed a spot. Alright, so I think that I haven't done any zigzags yet, so I think I'll do a zigzag line which goes up and down, but I'll try to maybe make it more curved so that it kind of ties in with the other curved lines that I have in my drawing. And I can see that maybe I might even want to color in some of the spaces here just to kind of give it some more contrast. Contrast is when things are very different, like black and white are like opposites. So I'm going to just take a minute here to finish my zigzags. They actually look kind of like tiger stripes because they are curved. Alright, as you can see, I finished my tiger stripes, and then I also added some straight lines above that, but now that I'm looking at it, I feel like the thin Sharpie just doesn't work as well. Like there's just not enough balance to the picture, so I'm going to go back over my lines with a thicker Sharpie just to add a little bit more balance to the picture. The bottom looks a little heavy, where the top looks a little light because the thickness of the line. So I'm going to take a minute to go ahead and go over all of these lines. I've also decided that as I'm working on the top part of the sun rays to add some diagonal as well to kind of create a chevron pattern. I just felt like that needed a little bit more too. So as you can see, as you go, ideas come to mind and just kind of helps you finish your artwork in a more balanced way. So look at yours as you're working on it and decide what you need to add, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. Here is my finished line drawing. At this point, if you're going to add color, please do so. Think about how you might balance that, maybe cooler colors in the water, warmer colors in the sky. But I'm going to leave you here with this for now, and if you have questions, shoot me them on Facebook, but otherwise have fun, and I hope you guys enjoy the lesson on lines.